Hey everyone, it's Talia here. Welcome back to another video on my channel. We are going to do two full designs today that are summer inspired, and you know what? They are all hand painted designs as well. Now for the first design, we are wanting it to be like a lighter, more neutral background, but I do like to pick something that's got like a pearl finish to it, such as this one from Accents. It is called Insight, and it has like a really soft pearl to it and makes an excellent background color. So I'm gonna go down and do one coat on top of the Margot like Opry tips. I like to use neutral tips like this so that I only have to do one coat with certain colors. One of the best hand painting tips that I've ever gotten is to put a tack-free top coat down before you do your hand painting. That way your brush is not going to skip across like a dispersion layer when you're trying to do any sort of hand painting. We do it for this design, but then the neon one, I was doing that design really late at night and completely forgot. And so you will actually see in the neon design like my brush skipping, and you can kind of see what I mean by that. I put all of or most of my Fusion gel paints into this watercolor palette so that it's just really easy for me to grab. And then this is the brush that I'm going to use for the majority of my hand painted designs. I like how thin the bristles are on it. I find that it's a little bit easier to get my brush to do what I want it to do. If I am going to do any sort of hand painting, which you guys know is quite rare for me, I do like to use the Fusion paints. I really like the consistency of these and the pigmentation. I do find that they work really well for me personally. For the neon design, we're going to work with the Opry gel polishes, and those I find work really well as well. But I would love to know what your guys' favorite like gel paints for hand painting are, or any sort of polishes that you like to hand paint with. Definitely comment below and let me know, because as much as I love stamping, it's like one of my favorite things to do. I definitely prefer it over hand painting. It is nice to add some like really cool accents to your designs with some hand painted looks, as well as there's some really cool techniques that you can do with it too. So I am just going to put down the green for the majority of the nails here. I wanted to start with that just so it gave me kind of like a place to go for the rest of the floral images that I wanted to create. Now I tried to make each of these little greenery pieces a little bit different. Like this one is going to have some little like spokes coming out of it so that I could put flowers on top of it, and some of the other ones are going to act as like the stem for the flowers. Just kind of play around with it until you get what you are happy with. And probably one of my most used tools in my nail studio is my dotting tool. I use this for so many different things. So for these cute little flowers that you are going to see many times throughout this video, I find it works really well if you do 5 little dots but keep them kind of close together, and then take your brush to kind of drag all of the rest of the product together. And if you're finding that it is not like round enough petals for you, you can easily go back in with your dotting tool and add a couple of other dots on top of it to make it look a little bit more cohesive. I find when you are creating a design like this, starting with your greenery gives you not only like a guide as to where to put some of your other flowers, but it also like sparks a little bit of inspiration. So this one here, I had like a little stem just kind of hanging off of it, and I was thinking, you know what would look really good on that? A little tulip. And so that is what I tried to paint on top of it. And adding these cute little centers to the flowers just brings everything together. So I did film this in like the order that I created the flowers here. So I am freeze curing in between every single different color and step here. That way I will not smudge anything and I won't wreck anything. But that's why we're kind of bouncing around through the different nails here. These little marbled roses are some of my favorites to create because they're quite simple and they turn out really, really cute. And if you're like me and you try and do these type of flowers that have more of like petals to them, I struggle with these to make them look like cute and round. So you know what I like to do? I like to put them off to the corner on the nail, because then I'm only having to do one side and it looks cute, but it wasn't as much of a struggle for me to make it actually look like a flower. And you guys hear me say this quite often, but do not judge your floral designs until you get some greenery attached to it as well, because even just a simple leaf can kind of clean everything up, as well as like a little center just pushed down on the nails here as well. On the thumbnail, I do have a larger canvas to work on, so I did want to make this kind of like petally type of flower a little bit bigger. And again, I'm going to put it off to the side. That way I can make it look a little bit better. I know if I would have tried to have done this in the center, I am not the best at making my flowers just look even. Like I just really struggle with the petals. So I'm going to put it off to the side here. I'm going to cure it, and then we're going to go in and we're going to do the center, which again is just going to bring it all together. I decided to go in with a yellow for the center, and all I'm doing is kind of like flicking my brush here to like make it look like it's like lines coming out of the center towards the rest of the petals. Now on each of the hands of the nails, I wanted to put like some sort of little critter, and I originally had planned to stamp some sort of critter down, and then I was thinking, you know what, I bet I could create like a little bee on one nail, and then on the other nail I ended up doing a little butterfly as well. So these, honestly, you guys, you are seeing the finished product of it coming together here, because it was a struggle for me, especially the little butterfly. That's going to be coming up in a reel. And then we're going to come back to the other side of that thumbnail here, and we are going to do like that marbled kind of rose looking design. But this time I wanted to use like some turquoise colors. I'm coming back to the nail here that had like little stems coming out of the greenery, and I am taking this accents brush, which is a very short bristled brush, and I am just kind of like dabbing the product down to create some like abstracty looking flowers here. I thought this would look really cute for this particular design. Okay, this is cute. I'm really liking it. However, I did try on the thumbnail there adding some polka dots, and I really liked that. So this is a really simple way to just add a little bit more to your nail designs, make them a little bit more unique. Just add some simple dots, and I find using a color like white or black just really makes everything pop. I like to work with a toothpick sometimes to create little dots depending on how big I want them as well. You look for the ones that are super like sharp and pointed. They work fantastic for creating little dots. I'm going to get everything all top coated here, and I am using the Accents Shine On for this. I really like working with this top coat, especially for something like this where your designs are kind of standing out a little bit more. I find that it encases your design and almost like encapsulates it so that you don't really feel like the lumps and bumps through it so much. But I do find that I have to like tilt my nail upside down when I do any sort of hand painted designs like this, just so I can cover everything up and make sure that it is nice and smooth. And this is how the first design came together. It is so cute. I think this is just a perfect transition design for spring leading into summer, or you could even change up the different colors for it and make it a different type of seasonal look too. Just a really cool design to create. Now for the neon set that we're going to do, which is fantastic for summer coming up here, I did want to start with a background that looked a little bit more like jelly. And one of my favorite like go-to jelly looking type of products is this one from Luxio, and it is called Lip Gloss. I need to get a big one of these because I am just going through this like crazy. It is an excellent background color. And again, I'm working on the Margot tips with this color too. I had a vision in my head for like a green, pink, and yellow design, but I knew I wanted some of the colors to be sparkle. So I did grab some sparkly colors that are a little bit more sheer that I could add on top of the colors that I had going on the nails here. The first color I'm going to start with is Latchkey Pink from Opry. I love this pink. You guys have seen this in so many of my videos. It has just become my go-to like hot pink shade. And I am going to create a French tip nail design on this nail here. And when I start with my French tip, I like to like generally guide out where it's going to be. And I also like a really deep French tip as well. And the Opry gel polishes work really good for creating French tips because the brush fits in so nice, but they're also like highly pigmented. So I do find for the most part, I only have to do one coat. Now for the green, I wasn't too sure which green I was going to use, whether it was this Gel X Slime one or if I was going to grab the French tip green one. Ultimately, I decided to use the French tip one. It was just a little bit more brighter and kind of what I was going for. And these French tip ones are, again, amazing for hand painting, but because they have that angled brush, they're even easier easier to kind of get into the nail design. If you do your Frenches a similar way to me, where I kind of like guide out where I want my French to be and then go in with my brush and fill everything in straight from the gel polish bottle. The little angle works so well for doing that. And these French tip gel polishes from Opera, they come in like little sets, or I believe they come individually as well. And this one and the yellow come in a neon set, and they are super, super pigmented. I love working with them for this time of year. I try my best to get my Frenches as even as possible, but if I do need to do any cleanup, I love working with the Clear Jelly Stamper cleanup brush. They have a pink one and then they have a blue one, and I tend to reach for the blue one a little bit more. I believe it's a little bit of a smaller head, like more pointed, but also like a thinner head to it as well. So for me personally, it works a little bit easier. Now for the thumbnail here, I did want to add something that kind of looked like a flower off to the side. I wasn't exactly sure how this was going to come together, but I did map it out with my brush at first, and then I went in with my gel polish to fill everything in. Now for this bright yellow color, I did have to go in and do a second coat on top of it as well, just to cover up any sort of shadowing, which is something that you do get from a lot of yellows, especially like neon yellows like this one. But once I went in with that second coat, it really cleaned everything up nicely. Now I know that swirly lines are really in right now, and I love it, but it's a lot easier to create these lines if you work with a brush that is a little bit longer. I wanted to show you guys what it's like if you work with a brush like this that has thin bristles and not really, really long bristles, and you're gonna have to, it works, it definitely works, but you're gonna have to take your time kind of filling things in. I would suggest using something that is a little bit more of a striper brush. This is a thicker striper brush, so I find if you're wanting to create thicker lines, it works really, really well for it. And making sure you are curing in between each of these steps here so that you don't have any smudging. I'm going to go in with the lime green right beside that pink. These type of like jelly see-through gel polishes with a little bit of sparkle are fantastic for going on top of similar shades that match underneath. So you can see the bright pink with this on top of it just adds like a really soft sparkle to it, and you don't have to use too much of it. You're not going to create too much bulk. All you want is that sparkle. Once it's cured, I am going to go in and do some green lines to kind of surround this really cute design as well. As you can see, I am bouncing around between all of the different nails as they are curing. So we are back to the swirl design now to create a yellow swirl line here. And I found I was able to do this in one coat. I wasn't too sure if I was going to have to go in and do a second coat, but this brush made it really simple to create a nice thick line for this yellow. Then coming back to the thumbnail, I am going to surround this design with a pink line. So I had sparkles to go on top of the pink as well as the green, but I could not find a sparkle that was going to work on top of the yellow. But I also liked the contrast of keeping the yellow just like a flat color without sparkle in combination with some of the other colors having a sparkle to it. So we are going to use this green sparkly shade to fill in some of the green on the nail design here. We are going to go on top of the green line for the swirl design here. And same thing for the thumbnail with that pink line. I am going to go over top of it with that jelly sparkly color, and this just looks so cool. I love the contrast between like the yellow being not a sparkly color and then just having some sparkly accents. I think it just adds a little something fun to this nail design. After I have my lines in my French nails, it is time to add the little floral accents. Now this dotting tool here, as you guys can see, is giant. It is actually like a clay molding tool, and it works really good for these like bigger flowers. I find I struggle with like a smaller dotting tool when I'm trying to create like larger flowers like this. You just got to make sure that you are not using too much product that you're going to have issues with it curing. Now I'm trying to use opposite colors to whatever the French nail design or line design is. So for this one, because it is a green French tip, I did want to do a different colored flower. And then I'm also going to do like the pink center. And same thing, I am going to add some of that sparkly colors to the centers if I have one for it as well. And for this nail, I did decide to add just some little white polka dots. You're going to see them coming back again here. It just kind of finishes the nail and it adds like a really cool aspect to it, but you definitely do not have to add polka dots to your nail design for this in order for it to like look super cute. But I did find that it really just added a cool little touch to it. And then my last step here is to just top coat everything. I did decide to add some polka dots to the thumbnail here as well, which you guys can see as I'm top coating. It looks really cool, and the contrast between some of the nails being like a flat color and some of them being sparkly looks really cool too. These type of designs are very versatile. You can use swirls, you can use like French tips, you can use flowers, dots, anything, and just kind of combine them together and use similar colors on each of the nails, and it ends up coming out cohesive. So it is a really cool design, especially for summer, to create something like this here. Thank you guys for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it and it gave you some inspiration for upcoming summer nail art. Make sure you're following me on all of my social media, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!